Hello and welcome to another edition of Tracksuit Thursday, August edition. And this month we are kicking off a whole new talk track, a whole new series of conversations. The topic for the month is relationships. And not just professional relationships, personal relationships, family relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, all of them. So stick around, it's going to be a fun month. I want to direct you to check out peacefreedomconnection.com. Lots of fun, new, great resources on that website. I have a request. Please sign up for the mailing list. We don't bombard you with a lot of emails. We don't have a newsletter and all that kind of stuff, but it is the best conduit to share about upcoming events or new content or resources for you. And beginning this month, we're going to have at the end of the month a free, I think I'm supposed to say no cost, webinar at the end of the month on whatever the topic of the month is. So, for example, this month, I'm talking about relationships. At the end of the month, those that are part of the mailing list will be invited, and I believe it's a contest, so I think certain members will be selected, but you have to be on the mailing list to get invited to this very small, intimate roundtable conversation where we can spend a little bit of more intimate time. I can answer your questions. I can share some things I wouldn't otherwise share in the video here. So do check that out. Please visit our socials, and don't forget to wear your tracksuits. I'm in the short kit for summer. That's okay as long as it's matching, right? That's how it works. And post those photos with the hashtag Tracksuit Thursday. So let's talk about relationships. That's why we're here on this planet, is the way I think about it. Relationships. That's what this entire human experience is for. And yet, for most people, quality relationships remain a mystery. Quality relationships with their friends, deep connectedness with their friends, with their family, much less a significant other, romantic partner, with their children. It's something that has the potential to create so much fulfillment in our lives, and yet it often, in actuality, creates so much stress and anxiety and frustration. Well, I'm here to tell you that doesn't need to be the case. I have spent a lifetime learning how to create and foster and nurture incredibly powerful and intimate and loving and connected relationships, and I want to share what I know with you. So that's what I'll get started with today. The first thing that I want to talk about is this idea that relationships are like any other interaction. And let's use the analogy of a game or a sport. All right, let's talk about the sport of basketball. You get some people together, you put them on some sort of a court, they're throwing this ball thing around. Well, what is basketball really? Well, like any sport, basketball is a function of the rules that make up the sport, right? If people just sort of showed up and did whatever they want with the ball, well, that wouldn't be fun. It'd be frustrating, in fact. The way that basketball works and the way that it's enjoying to watch and enjoying to play is it follows a certain set of rules that everybody's aware of. And when the rules are broken, somebody blows a whistle and there's a timeout and we sort that out. Sometimes there's a penalty, but the game is stopped and you get back in the game. Now, I think basketball is a lot of fun, but if you were to play basketball with me, you would find out very quickly that I play a different version of basketball. You see, in normal basketball, the players have to do this thing called dribbling, and there's only so many number of steps that they can take before they have to either shoot the ball or dribble. Well, when I get on the court, I don't really like dribbling. I'm not very good at it. So there's basketball and there's Townsend basketball. Townsend basketball is you kind of just do whatever you want. You walk with it, shoot when you want, dribble when you want, no big deal. I got a version of Townsend golf too. If I don't like the shot, I grab another ball and put it out there and hit that. Somebody playing that game with me who doesn't like those rules or doesn't know I'm playing by different rules, sometimes they get frustrated. What if relationships are the same way? Think about it. We have manuals and books and rule books for how to play a sport. I've never seen one for a relationship. So best we configure We pay attention to what we observed growing up, how relationships worked, what we thought the rules were, and we either try to emulate those or promise we'll never follow those rules. But rarely do we talk about it with who we're in the relationship with, right? I want to introduce a distinction that will be very helpful for you in creating relationships everywhere in your life. The distinction is expectations versus agreements, right? Now, a distinction is different than an explanation because the job isn't to create a box around something, this is what it is, and it's a definition. A distinction is designed and intended to help you have an insight about something, see something that's true for you. So as I talk about expectations versus agreements, don't worry about what's the definition of it, see what there is for you to see. Expectations are how most people live their lives. They walk around expecting people to do things, getting disappointed and frustrated when the things they think are going to happen don't happen. Now, these things that they think are going to happen or want are going to happen, turns out they haven't talked to anybody about these things. They're just sitting there asking the question, well, why don't people just know this? Relationships are a lot like this. People show up in a relationship with the idea that the other party to the relationship is going to play by the same rules that they are. They're just this expectation. We don't talk about it. Now, agreements, in contrast to expectations, are things we talk about. They're formal. They're spoken, sometimes even written. Agreements have to do with actions. We agree on actions that I will take or not take and you will take or not take. We don't create agreements around outcomes because we can't promise an outcome to anybody. Agreements have to be, well, let's just say it, not coerced. You can't force somebody to make an agreement and then hold them to it. That's not a true agreement. So they have to be voluntary. That's an important part of creating powerful relationships. So as you're thinking about this, as I'm creating this distinction for you, I want you to start running through your mind all the places in the relationships you have where disappointment shows up, frustration shows up, anxiety shows up. I guarantee every one of those places is an area in that relationship that exists within the context of expectation. There's an expectation somebody's going to do something. There's not a formal agreement. Now, if you're thinking, yeah, but they should just know that that's an agreement. That's not an agreement. That's an expectation. Let me tell you how seriously I take this. Luisa Milano, my amazing, beautiful, powerful, brilliant wife, and I have an incredible relationship because everything that exists in this relationship, everything this relationship is, revolves around agreements that we have. There are no expectations anywhere in our relationship. In our relationship, we have created a series of very simple agreements that we both agree to live by, and that forms the basis of our relationship. You might even say the rules of our relationship. Now, when one of the rules is not followed, well, we call a timeout and we talk about it. We have to sort this out because there's an agreement that is not being followed, and it's both of our agreement. That's a key aspect of agreements versus expectations. You see, expectations are typically something that I have of you, and when it doesn't get done, I sit over here, arms crossed, blaming you for what you didn't do. Or if I have an expectation, I'll kind of wait a little bit down the road, see what happens when you get there, if you've done what I thought you're going to do, so I can judge you if you haven't. Agreements, by a difference, by a distinction here, agreements are cooperative. Agreements are mutual. Now, that doesn't mean that everything that we've agreed to, both parties have to do, but whatever has been agreed to, it is both of our responsibility to uphold that agreement, even if the action is on your part. Let me give you an example. If we have an agreement that you're going to complete a task, a set of activities by a certain date, and we're in agreement on that, I don't just wait to that date till you get there and say, did you do it? Did you not do it? Because all along that journey, I view the agreement that we're in as our mutual agreement. So all the way at the beginning, when I'm even asking you to enter into the agreement, I'm thinking, is this something they can do? Do they have the time for it? Do they know how to do it, what I'm asking them to do? Are they being willing? I'm taking responsibility even in the asking of it. And then throughout the agreement, I can take responsibility for the success of that agreement, the fulfillment of that agreement, by checking in, seeing if you need support. How are we doing on our agreement? I don't just wait till the end. So in a relationship, the agreements you have, both parties are responsible for upholding those agreements. If either party is out of agreement, well, we get together and we talk about it. What do you want to do? Do we want to get back into agreement? Do we want to alter the agreement? How do we want to proceed? We don't just sit there blaming the other person and getting mad at them because they didn't fulfill their end of the bargain. Everything is ours. Everything is mutual. Now, let's get back to the agreements that Luis and I have. They're very simple. The first agreement is we each agree to always speak the truth to the best of our ability. Everything in our relationship is founded on this idea that we will speak the truth even if that might not be comfortable or fun or pleasant for the other party to hear. The second agreement we have is that each of us will always own our own emotions. We'll never blame the other for how we're feeling. And more importantly, we'll never go to the other seeking for them to make us feel different or better on the inside, right? One of the things we know is our experience of life is something we create. So that's part of our agreements. I agree to own my emotions and my experience. I will only come to you and engage with you when I am on what we call our center point, when I am at peace with everything going on and I'm not blaming you. If I'm blaming you, I'll do my work to get over that, but I'm not going to come to you blaming you, wanting you to make me better. After that, once I am on my center point, I will engage with you and either ask for information or share information, ask for an agreement, another agreement, or offer an agreement. Those are the rules. Everything in our life revolves around that. And trust me, there are the 4 basic agreements that we have. I think it's 4. And there are lots of agreements that have come off of those because everything else occurs by agreement. We have an agreement about who takes our dog Jax out on what days, who feeds him on what days. Nothing is left to, well, isn't this your day? What's the expectation, right? Everything we have that's a decision in our life, that's something that's going to be important for us, and even some things that you might consider as fairly mundane, we create an agreement around. What it does is it keeps us out of the world of judgment and blame and in the world of workability, getting things done, creating powerfully in a relationship. So, we'll be talking a lot about this month. I'll be back next week. It'll be live next week. So I'll have a little more time to spend with you and talk about relationships. In the meantime, look at the relationships in your life and ask yourself, where am I creating relationships in expectation or allowing others to put expectations on me? And where am I creating powerful agreements that allow me to navigate this relationship with power and with intention? And if you're interested in more on creating relationships in agreement, I'm going to include a link to an audio by a guy named Steve Chandler, the godfather of coaching. It's called Expectations versus Agreements. 30 minutes, you can listen to it, give you a little more depth and clarity on this idea of agreements in your life and how you can create powerful relationships with them. Hope you're having an amazing Tracksuit Thursday. Put on your tracksuit, take a photo, hashtag it on the socials. Go visit peacefreedomconnection.com. Please join the mailing list so you can have an opportunity to be with me at the end of this month for a little longer, let's call it fireside chat on relationships. Have an amazing day.